takes the water away from you folks. It takes the food quality and the food safety issues away from you folks. The quality of the food that you're getting in your stores is not the quality of food that we produce on the western side of the San Joaquin Valley, which is the finest quality food grown under the most stringent circumstances anywhere in the world. When I've made several trips up to the Delta to try and figure out what's going on here, what's causing the problem. Well, let me see here if I can make this thing work. There's stressors that are far and beyond the pumps. Upstream from the pumps, what we're seeing is water diversions for the city of San Francisco, the East Bay Metropolitan District, that being the East Bay of San Francisco, divert many millions of gallons of water upstream through tunnels and pipelines that does not contribute to the health of the Delta, and in fact dries that Delta down and concentrates the pollutants that are also being dumped in by different cities associated around and upstream of the Delta. We have direct discharges of sewage that is double treated, that meaning that they break out the solids from the sewage and then they disinfect it, and then they simply discharge it into the drinking water for 25 million people. Sounds real environmentally sensitive to me. Urban runoff. Urban runoff is a substantial problem because probably once a week, maybe once a month, people come around and spray for spiders and ants and things around their house, and they use pyrethroid insecticides for that. When you have a rain, that all hits the gutter and it goes right out and is pumped into the Delta, the ecosystem of the Delta, the San Joaquin River, the Sacramento River, and it's highly toxic. The toxicity at the time that the San Joaquin Delta should be of the highest quality, it is the worst quality because of the urban runoff. Agricultural tailwater. The growers up there, we're not giving anybody a pass. We don't dump our tailwater in any of our freshwater rivers in the San Joaquin Valley, yet they think nothing of doing it upstream from 25 million people's drinking water. It's just not right. And, you know, at the same time, we're being blamed for it. They have cross-channel gates that originally, when they built the state and federal projects, they put cross-channel gates upstream from the pumps at Tracy to allow water that we developed and paid for the dams that store it. In Sacramento, that would be at Shasta, Folsom, and Oroville reservoirs. They're all on the Sacramento River. The problems are developing on the San Joaquin side of the Delta. And let me see if I can find that. Okay. What we have here is, this is the Sacramento side of the Delta. Up here, you notice that there's very few channels. Out in here is the San Joaquin side. You see there's about 10 times the amount of channels. There's only 1/3 the amount of the water. So up on this side, more water, less channels. Down here, more channels, less water. Also, more municipalities dumping into a limited supply of water. And they've been allowed to increase their sewage discharge permits almost on an annual basis. So as they've continued to grow, they utilize more of the fresh water upstream and are discharging more polluted water downstream. And they're wondering why the Delta's dying. And yet, our pumps are down in this vicinity down here, and they're saying this is what's causing the problem. All the fish are dying up here, in particular in the Stockton area, where Stockton has the most violations for sewage discharge permits of any city in at least California, maybe the United States, I don't know, but almost an average of 5 spills a week And spills are raw sewage. Spills are not exceeding your permit. They're overloading their systems. They haven't built the infrastructure for their growth. Why? Because they've simply been able to dump that water, and it's a lot cheaper, so they keep their cost of their construction and operations for their urban users cheap. They've stolen our economy. It's not. It's like the terrorists in 9/11. They declared war on us, but we didn't understand it. Well, about 20 years ago, the Bay Area and their powerful politicians up there declared war on Southern California. And Southern California starts at the Tracy Pumps, head of the California Aqueduct. What happens is, let's see here, we have, whoops. The water that comes to the East Bay starts in this vicinity back up here. That would be, for those of you familiar with the McCollum River, there is 2 reservoirs on that river at Comanche and at Pardee. And that stored water that starts over here is pipelined back into the East Bay over here. It never goes in. The fish don't swim in it. It is simply diverted upstream, and it allows the concentrations of the sewage water to become more profound each and every year. San Francisco comes, and they're back down in here where Hetch Hetchy also has a pipeline that brings its water back around to the San Francisco area. And once again, fish don't get a chance to swim in that water, gets more concentration, the pollution is killing the fish. The combination of the sewage and its composition has changed over the years as well, as we've become more of a chemical dependent society. So pharmaceuticals are also a large portion of what we see in our sewage discharges, and it's going right out into the water. It is not being, if it was tertiary treated, it would filter the pharmaceuticals out, it would filter out the organophosphates and or the pyrethroids that are being utilized to control the insects, mostly in and around the cities. This is a picture of Shasta Dam because it was the prettiest dam that we could find. And besides, this is one that we paid for. We paid for having it constructed. It helps protect flood protection. It helps give the Delta what limited water quality it does have comes from reservoirs like Shasta, the largest reservoir in California. If indeed Shasta was not online and keeping water flows down the Sacramento River, the saltwater intrusion from the ocean would be back up in and around the Stockton-Sacramento area. But because we keep a constant downstream flow coming from reservoirs like Shasta, Folsom, and Oroville, the Sacramento River retards the saltwater intrusion. The Delta is it's below sea level. When you're thinking of a delta island is, you're looking down here and the water's clear up here. So it's kind of, and what happens is if that water level recedes and gets lower, then the saltwater intrusion comes in with a tidal action. Like I said, once again, our pumps are being blamed. They're clear down on the south and the west side